Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yashai, Bashem Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who the house of David be born again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about ESAU unraveling the secrets of the human DNA genome. But let's go and read this first. This is Ezekiel 28:3. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. And that ultimately is what was given on to these Edomites. When I say Edomites, I'm referring to the so-called Caucasian race, right? Because the term Edom and Edomite is the biblical names given to the Caucasian race. You see, the Caucasian race, the reason why they have no culture, why they run from their culture, is because throughout human history, our human history that is, they've spent it hiding from their true identity, right? Being that biblical fugitive that they were supposed to be. Now, that being said, along with their characteristics, the Lord put it into these Edomites to be able to accomplish feats like what you're reading here. Let's see what the title says. It says, scientists have finally mapped the whole human genome. After years of work, a large team of researchers say they've deciphered the missing 8% of our genome. And this was just recently done, though I've basically been covering other stories and news articles because there's just a lot of things coming out right now. But I thought this was a fairly important topic, right? Because again, ESAU is looking into the blueprints of life, right? Into the image of God, right? Because that's what your DNA is. It's the image which God created to make us, okay? And now these devils who consider themselves to be God have now unraveled it and are basically, we're going to see some crazy things come of it, okay? But before we get into some of that, let's go ahead and read this article. It says, scientists have finished mapping the entire human genome about 20 years after most of the map was complete. In new research this week, a team reports they have achieved a gapless genome sequence, accounting for 8% of genetic information not previously known. The missing data may provide more insights about the evolutionary journey of humans as well as our susceptibility to diseases. Now, this right here is going to be a big part in these devils' future agenda. You see, because with ESAU having this knowledge of the human DNA genome, they're going to be able, like I said, to do a lot of crazy things, okay? Things that we've never even imagined before, okay? Now, there was things, for example, like, let's see real quick. Actually, before I get into any of that, let's just read a little bit more. In 2003, a large coalition of scientists at the Human Genome Project unveiled the fruits of their labor, a nearly complete rendering of our genetic code. Even back then, though it was known that they hadn't gotten everything due to limitations at the time, they had focused on translating the reconstructing DNA from the euchromatin regions of the genome, the chunks of DNA, RNA, and proteins that are less tightly packed are often active in our cells. This still amounted to mapping 92% of the genome, but it meant that the DNA in our heterochromatin regions would be undiscovered for some time. It says heterochromatin has been referred to as the dark matter of our genetic structure. Its chunks of genetic materials are deeply packed and filled with repeated sequences of DNA, both of which have made it harder to translate and reconstruct into something readable. But over the years, advances in genetic sequencing and few lucky breaks have allowed scientists to get closer to deciphering these gaps that eventually led researchers to the telomere to telomere T2T consortium to commit to fully mapping the genome. One of these breaks involved finding a cell line derived from those with a rare condition that left their cells with two identical copies of their father's genome, as opposed to both parents, like usual. The mixing of two genomes can make translating harder. So ultimately, like what I was saying earlier, all this discoveries, all this searching out that ESAU does is going to ultimately lead to some wickedness on a whole different level. You see, because in the hands of a righteous person, this technology would be used for good. But in the hands of the wicked, which these Edomites are, right? It doesn't matter whatever they set their hands towards, they're always going to create wickedness, you know, inevitably or uninevitably. That's just the way it works, okay? They can't do good, basically, right? Even if they wanted to. Now, for example, there was a story when I had gone up to Lake Tahoe, right? And I went there and I did like a little tour around the lake itself. And the tour guide had told me that years before that scientists had wanted to, or that because the tour guide was basically explaining how before a few decades before, you could look all the way down to almost the bottom of the lake, right? Which was pretty deep. But that over time, algae started growing. So what happened is they decided to release a certain little crustaceans, kind of like crawfish, into the sea or into the lake, so that way they would eat the these algae, right? But the problem is that when they released those little crabs, or I guess whatever they were, those little animals, didn't even touch the algae. They went after native species of fish and other things, destroying the habitation of the lake. So after that, what happened is that these scientists thought that they would release non-native fish, the ones that would basically attack these little crustaceans. But what ended up happening is that these fish, once they got into the lake, they started to live in a different layer than these little crabs would live. So hence now, not only did they destroy the lake from introducing like a non-native species of crab, but they've also further deteriorated it, because the fish that they had released, which were supposed to control these crab populations, they've caused even more problems and making the lake even more muckier than before, right? So see, this is an example of ESAU trying to do good, but his actions inevitably doing something bad, right? And that's just the way it is, because these Edomites, they were created for a particular purpose, that being to be the wicked upon the earth, right? Now, that being said, with this sort of technology, this amount of information, what do you think these devils are going to do with this, right? Well, what did it say here, right? What was it? There it goes. Do you think, it says, the missing data may provide more insights about the evolutionary journey of humans, as well as their susceptibility to diseases, right? Now, you and I hear that, and we're thinking, okay, well, these people are gonna be able to find new cures, and, find new ways to prolong people's lives and make new medicine, right? But these devils, they see this, and they're more likely thinking, how can they weaponize it? How can they make money off of this? So this is where we're gonna probably start seeing new biological weapons, or you're gonna start seeing selective DNA modifying. There's a movie called Gattaca that came out years ago that showed how humans, once they had the technology to modify the human genome, would use it to basically produce what they felt was superior humans. And in the future, unless you were modified, you were considered less than perfect. Okay? Now, that is the future that Esau is planning, right? We already see what he's doing with the snake bites. Imagine now that he has full access to this, what else is he going to do, right? We're already hearing about jabs for cancer, for AIDS, and all these other things that were considered uncurable before. But now that, what is it called? Gene therapy is now a possibility. These devils are going to go full out. This is Obadiah 1:6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden themes sought up? And these devils, like I said, they've gone to magical lengths to find the technology that they have a hold of today, right? Now, ultimately, everything that they know was given to them by the Lord, from the hydrogen bombs to the atom bombs to the medical miracles that they've been able to achieve. And that's because the Lord has permitted them to learn these things that these Edomites know. And why is that? Well, it's because right now the whole earth is a stage and everybody is an actor in it. And the director is the Lord. And the Lord wants there to be a particular story that plays out. And for that story to play out, the evil characters have to have their tools, and the good characters have to have their tools. And right now, what these Edomites are uncovering, from being able to open up portals with the CERN Large Hadron Collider to being able to now map the entire human genome, these are all things or links of rope that the Lord has given these Edomites to ultimately hang themselves, right? Now, like I had said earlier, with that technology under Esau's belt now, we're going to start seeing a lot of crazy things go on, right? And this story came across, my feed, which I thought was interesting, especially after reading, what Esau had just achieved. Right? It says, human DNA contains all the necessary genes to produce feathers. It's merely a matter of selective activation, right? So basically, humans, if the DNA was changed or activated, as it says here, a human can grow feathers, right? Now, I know it may sound crazy, but what does the Bible say about this, right? This brought me right to this chapter, right? Let's read it real quick. This is Daniel's 4:31. While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. So you see that? So that right there is just a confirmation that this isn't just some wild story. This is actually in the realm of possibilities, right? So this is just another, another example of how the Bible is true. Okay, so here people are thinking that the Bible is just filled with a bunch of parables and allegories and everything, but as science continues to find out, because that's ultimately what science means. It means to know. Okay, now when science continues to learn things that the Lord has already has established, this only confirms the truth of the Bible even more. Okay, and besides that, like I said again, you're gonna start seeing crazy things just like this. There was a show, and it was a movie. I forgot what movie it was, but it had to do something with like the future, and I remember there was characters in there. There was like this lady, and she was like a half bird lady, right? And like she was like a prostitute or something. But this right here just shows you, man, that with today's wickedness around the world, where people are saying that there are all these different type of genders and they identify as this and that, it ain't gonna be too far long until we start seeing people identify themselves as birds, right? We're already seeing people identify themselves as dogs, as furries and all that retarded ass shit. But now that this is available to people, you're gonna start seeing people take this whole gene therapy to the next level. You already have it was on Netflix. It was called what is it? I forgot what his name was, but it was about modifying your DNA with homemade kits, right? And the brother Mawatz is out here from LA. He actually brought out that documentary on Netflix. But it just shows you, man, now that these devils are going to have this ability to target particular genes in your genome, who says there isn't going to be some weirdo out there, some demon that has possessed a human, who's going to want to go ahead and grow out a head full of feathers or a body full of feathers, right, to adorn their human flesh, right? And this is just the craziness that we're actually moving into, people. This is Matthew 24:21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Right? And you see that? Because why is no flesh going to be saved? Well, besides the whole depopulation agenda, which is clearly going on right now, you're also going to have people out there digitally modifying their body and also genetically modifying their own body. So that way that the flesh that is upon the earth is going to be all corrupted. What did it tell you in Genesis before the flood? Why did the Lord flood the earth? Well, he said all flesh had corrupted itself upon the earth, right? And by doing things like this, by modifying the image of God, by changing it, right, trying to become their own authors, these devils are going to corrupt the flesh which the Lord has created, right? They're going to defile the temple of the Lord. That's speaking about the bodies of you Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, right? Because you would be an Israelite, meaning that your body is a temple of God. Well, this is just the time that we're in, Akim, right? These are the things that we were meant to look out for, right? This is Ecclesiastes 9:12. For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare. So are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. And that's where we are right now, Akim. They are attempting to snare us in an evil time, which we are surrounded in, right? And if you go along with this system just to get along because you want to get back to normal, then hey, you're going to be caught in that trap that they're setting up for you. But if you're vigilant, you're paying attention, you're not listening to what these devils are trying to persuade you to do, then you're going to be okay, right? You're going to have the Lord at the forefront of your thoughts, and you're going to have these lessons that me and the Akim have put out there by the will of the Lord to help lead you, right? And you're going to use this information plus the knowledge of the scriptures and the Holy Spirit to ultimately lead you to salvation. Okay, that's the key to all this, man. Is because right now Satan's kingdom is in the process of being established here upon earth, right? Yes, he's ruled the world, since our, human history, but now that we're at the end, now he's going to come full out with his followers and everything, and it's going to be blatant. It's going to be blatant as hell. Things are going to be crazy, and trust me, Akim, you're going to, with all this stuff, we're going to see people out there with feathers, with, pigtails, with animal, mixing. You're gonna see real chimeras out there, okay? Just like in the time of Noah, where you had the Lamassu, which is basically those human heads with the cow bodies and those eagle wings, and all these things. Those are gonna come back in these times, man. You're gonna see some crazy things that we would never thought we would see in our lifetime, right? What did the scriptures say? Newly created creatures are going to be brought out, right? So, I just wanted to share this, Akim. Wanted to show you, what ESAU has been doing in the dark. Though he brings it out, this is not stuff that is publicized, right? Because ultimately, it's over the general populace's heads, right? They have no understanding of this. But the thing is, man, is for those that know, understand that this is going to be the wickedness that these devils are going to use, man. So, Lord save us, man. So with all that, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rukah Kodash, double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.